Chris with Matthew Mercer. Welcome to the convention.
Hey, happy to be here.
How's your impression of the con been for your first year so far?
First year convention is always a phrase that immediately fills me with a little bit of a chill from previous experience. But no, this year this convention has been phenomenal. You can tell that it's been run by a lot of vets who've had a lot of experience in the convention scene, and everything's run very smoothly. Everyone's been very attentive and positive, and the attendees have been awesome, and the panels have gone great. So I've thoroughly enjoyed my experience here. Yeah.
Nice. What has been your highlight so far this weekend, would you say?
Outside of the convention, going to Casa Bonita for dinner for Valentine's Day. That was an experience, to say the least. At the convention, actually, honestly, the panels have been fun. I really enjoyed the signings. For me, a lot of the experience here at the convention is being able to meet and have contact and converse with all the fans one-on-one. And there's just been so many very legitimately sweet people that have come through and have great stories to share and very positive, and it's been really, really cool meeting everybody. So to me, that's been my highlight so far, definitely.
Awesome. And then obviously you've had some big roles recently. So like, did Attack on Titan, when it blew up, like, was it surprised? Were you surprised with how popular it became when you were working on it?
Yeah. I knew it had some rise in popularity. I remember it was still just starting to air in Japan. And that Anime Expo that year in LA, I kept seeing all these people wearing these brown uniforms and carrying like giant drink disposal machines on the side of their body. I was like, what is this going on? And it just kept growing more prominent with more events. And so finally I looked up the show and watched it. It was available on Netflix, and I was like, what? Why is this show so awesome? So I was already a fan of it before I even got involved with it. And even then I wasn't prepared for the reception.
Like from Toonami and stuff, from on TV? Yeah,
I was not prepared. It's been really cool. It's been overwhelming, and I'm very, very humbled to be able to be a part of it, let alone my favorite character on the show. So that was pretty fantastic.
Probably like the most popular character on the show. Like that's
no
the biggest merch I've ever seen from that show is always Levi.
No pressure at all. It's been really, really cool being able to step into that character's shoes, and I'm looking forward to the next season and hopefully doing some of the other ancillary content they put out that kind of go further into his backstory too. I'm totally stoked, completely.
Nice. Do you have any other upcoming roles that you can talk about?
That I can talk about, yeah. I think I can say now that I'm in the Fire Emblem Fates that's coming out in the next week or so.
Oh yeah.
Where I voice Ryoma, who's one of the two big. You have two different families that you basically choose between. He's the head of the more Japanese-oriented family, as well as a number of other characters you can collect in the game I voice as well. Let's see what other things. The recent release of the Pillars of Eternity, I think it's called White Marches, is their final expansion for the game. It came out recently, or is about to. I reprised my roles of Adair and Eloth in that, so excited about that. Those are the big titles that just recently hit that are more of an announcement point. Other than that, there's also Minecraft story mode.
No.
I have recurring characters in that, and one of my characters, Aiden, has some cool story bits coming up, so I'm excited about that.
That's awesome.
And
I mean, speaking of Fire Emblem, like that's a huge series.
Yeah.
Like for in Nintendo in general, especially because it's the more adult-oriented Nintendo, especially with Fates.
Yeah.
So there's been a ton of controversy with Fates on marriage and face rubbing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I imagine working for a company that's so kid-friendly, it must be awesome to be able to just record something so dark from them.
Yeah, no, Nintendo, like you said, it's always so family-oriented, so it's neat that, number one, they're bringing a series over that is, a lot more mature in the way it handles the story aspects, the conflict, and, aside from a few maybe culturally inappropriate things,
oh, yeah.
There are discrepancies between Japan and America as far as what is considered okay. Then some of those changes are understandable, but overall, the real core of it all remains untouched and unscathed. And I'm excited that the series is doing so well, which enables them to continue to bring it over, for the most part, unscathed, and that's exciting for me. Let alone be part of the previous one and this one as well. I was like, oh man, this is cool.
Yeah. Awakening was amazing.
Oh man, it's such a good game.
And then, like, this one, I think it's the darkest game they've written, because regardless of what family you choose, like, there's a lot of death based upon that choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm liking this new trend in storytelling that isn't afraid to go into more tumultuous and more
Shakespearean almost.
yeah. I think death is a very it's a terrible thing, but it's also a very important story driving linchpin in a lot of literature and a lot of storytelling, period. And I feel like there's been a trend, especially in American culture, to shy away from the discussion of it for fear of, it's too dark for kids. And I think there's an element of that you need to respect a younger audience to be able to deal with it and learn with it. And yes, it is a dark thing to talk about, but it's also an important part of growing into a human being and being prepared for some of the darkness that there is in the world inherently. And so I think it's great that people are beginning to respect the audience more. I mean, being allowing themselves to tell these stories to a younger audience in a way that understands that they can probably handle it.
Nice. Do you have
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Zach, on
Throw them
that?
at me.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we've already touched on Fire Emblem. So, where to begin with this? So I was actually going to begin with, how did you get into voice acting, and particularly which flavor of voice acting do you prefer?
My initial inspiration for performing arts in general came through theater, being on stage. Began in high school and then got involved in a lot of community theater and did a lot of musical theater and other forms of stage production. So that was where I initially got the bug as a performer. Simultaneously, I grew up a pretty fervent indoor kid, watching cartoons and playing video games. So I reached a point in my life where I tried to find a way to combine both passions, and voiceover seemed like a route I could choose. And it's one of those things where you don't want to just focus on one in particular. You kind of have to hit all angles at once in hopes that one of them pick up. It's a very competitive industry. And so I spent years doing little things on the side whenever they had the opportunity, working the day job, paying the rent, being a responsible adult. And I eventually reached a point in my life where I wanted to really give it all I could. And that way, at least if I failed at it, I know I gave it what I could and I can move on without any regrets. I'm a firm believer that nothing is worse than looking back on your life and saying, oh, if only I had given it a shot. It's better to have tried and failed than to never have tried. And so I saved up some money, I quit my job, I downsized to a very tiny studio apartment in North Hollywood, and ate a lot of ramen and whatever would subsist existence. And I hit the pavement hard, auditioned a bunch, went to a lot of workshops, put my name out there, and just, in the face of adversity and rejection, kept pushing. And so that's kind of how I went from wanting to get into voiceover to eventually pushing into it over many years of difficulty, hardship, and eventual victory.
Were you a chicken or beef guy?
I grew up a beef guy. I've converted to chicken since.
Roasted or regular?
Roasted chicken, yo.
These are questions that haunt me.
That's okay. The core of the human being lies in these questions.
So from there, getting into that, moving from the North Hollywood apartment, video games, anime, which one do you prefer? Or do you just kind of take them? I know you take them as you get them.
Yeah. You're happy to have work, period. And each format has its own benefits. Anime and foreign dubbing is an interesting challenge as a performer, because on top of the fact that you have to bring the character persona, you have to interpret the dialogue and try and stay in that emotional pocket where the character would lie to give a believable performance. You also have to fit that performance into a very confined space, so a very specific length of time with the right beats and pauses and match pre-existing animation. That is a really interesting challenge. So you have to take the emotional investment of a performer and layer that with the technical aspect of an audio engineer. And that kind of balance makes it a fine dance. Not a lot of actors can pull it off. And plus you're also fighting the wave of the unfortunate name the anime got from the 90s and 80s. So there's always that uphill battle of trying to prove that no, English dub is pretty good when you get some good passionate people behind it. So that's a really interesting experience. Video games and Western animation, you have a little more flexibility for the most part. You have the opportunity to perform at whatever pace seems natural for you. You create the character, A lot of it's based on where you want to take it and where you want to build it, and that flexibility as a performer lets you kind of be unleashed, and you can take pauses where you feel it's necessary. You can really make it your own. So I like the aspect of freedom that you get with a lot of video games and Western animation, but I like the technical challenge of working in Japanese dubbing.
Were there any particular roles that stood out in your career that you were very proud of, or that you rather enjoyed a lot?
Yeah. As far as anime goes, I'm really proud of Kiritsugu Emiya in Fate Zero. That series in general is one of my favorites ever, just from an unbiased, person who enjoys anime. I love that show. But that character also was a very, very complex and very subtle character that, as a performer, especially in a genre that is littered with very over-the-top, kind of balls to the wall characters, it was kind of nice to bring something that was more cinematic and more dynamic in its subtlety. And so I absolutely loved Kiritsugu. When it comes to games, I had a special place in my heart for Leon Kennedy, so when I got to pick up that role, that just had a special geek point in my heart. I actually really enjoyed being McCready in Fallout 4, partially because I'm a huge Fallout fan since the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Like, played all those from the, even the bad Brotherhood of Steel strategy game. But that character also, we had a lot of dialogue and a lot of really emotional beats for him, even just as a companion character, and so that was a fun experience for me as an actor.
Have you put much time into the new Wasteland?
Oh yeah, I'm on my second playthrough.
Who are you supporting the most, or?
Well, my first game I went through supporting the railroad, and pushed through that just because they were the kind of the weirdest. And
have you ever pulled for the synths?
I'm thinking about it for the second playthrough. I can't do Brotherhood. I did Brotherhood in previous games, and they're just too militaristic for me. That was like, I can't get behind this. Plus, it's too fun to blow up their giant zeppelin.
I like doing militiamen. Like those are the Minutemen.
The Minutemen.
Yeah.
I would if Preston Garvey wasn't so wooden.
Oh yeah.
I can't deal with him. He if not for him, I would have probably gone with the Minutemen because they're more my speed of being, the moral for the lesser man. But Preston Garvey being like, hey, I have another mission for you. Go to this farm. No, I can't. Sorry, Minutemen.
You're gonna have to deal with that one.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun getting your ghouls again.
If you don't mind me asking, how long were you working on Fallout 4? Because this was a game that was constantly popping up and then disappearing and popping up ever since the release in New Vegas, like 8 years ago.
Yeah. We began recording that about 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
And let me tell you, no game has been harder for me to keep under wraps than that one. As a Fallout nerd, the day we began recording on it, I was just like, I want to talk about this so bad. And so, they didn't announce anything until the day of release, and so we were just chafing at the bit.
Oh yeah, at E3 this year is when they announced it, and they're like, yeah, it comes out in 5 months. Like, enjoy.
Yeah, how's that for a drop, man? I love that. I love the little surprise. Oh, and it's like right around the corner, guys. Not too many game companies do that. I think you should. But yeah, we were recording that for a while, and I'm super excited and just don't wait to talk about it.
So, speaking of Resident Evil roles, they are talking about a remake of Resident Evil 2. Is that something you're hoping to reprise Leon?
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Leon's very dear to my heart, and I'd like to be able to portray him at a younger stage.
Where he's not so much a badass, where he's just kind of like,
or even just
leading him around.
Yeah, or even his world weary. I got to play a little more of his cocksure Resident Evil 4 self in the film Damnation. And then in 6, he was just very kind of downtrodden and beaten by the perpetuation of this virus. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to go back and do him. First day on the job, everything goes to crap, and deal with it. So I hope that's the case.
Thanks. What has been your favorite video game of all time you think you've worked on?
Oh man, that's a hard choice.
I mean, Fire Emblem was a good choice, but like Fallout 4, just because of how huge that is worldwide for everyone, and like you see like people spending like digging into the game for like 400 hours just for anything they can find with every character.
Yeah. That one comes pretty close. Just really proud to be a part of that one. I wish I could have been part of The Witcher. That didn't all cast in the UK, which makes sense, and they're really great. But that's my favorite franchise, period. So I would say, oh man, Fallout's pretty up there. Pretty damn proud of that. Pillars of Eternity, man.
Okay.
I have to go with that one as well, because I grew up in Baldur's Gate, isometric,
Oh, yeah.
PC RPGs. That was my jam back in the day. Planescape Torment, like that was.
Icewind Dale.
Oh yeah, that whole genre of game is so important to me. So when they kickstarted that, I was a supporter before I was even involved, and then getting those characters and it was incredible. So, and the final product was so everything you hoped it would be. So I'm very, very proud of Pillars.
Yeah. What do you think of the whole like Kickstarter fund for video games that's happening right now? Because it's a huge trend for a lot of major developers where they're leaving their companies because Kickstarter gives them the freedom to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Instead of being controlled by like the big corporate guy. They're like, no, we're going to make it this way because it'll be popular.
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's definitely had its hiccups. There have been a number of horror stories of people who didn't have the experience or the information to truly deliver the promises they gave, and that's put a little bit of trepidation in adopting a lot of it. But there have been a lot of companies that have come out and made incredible things and made their promises. Obsidian and Pillars being a great example of that. So I hope it's a growing trend because one, it allows the community to be directly involved in the development of a project that they love, and I think that that's a great collaborative atmosphere to build between the developers and the community. I think it's as opposed to being this removed, consumer and provider, relationship, it becomes an all-inclusive, positivity breeding atmosphere, which is great. And like you said, it removes the middleman to the publisher, which, some publishers have been really good, but there's also been a lot of publishers that are very confining when it comes to what the final product they expect it is to become, and they get so involved in what the devs want to create that it ends up being changed down the road to something that maybe wasn't what they intended it to be.
Konami is a great example of that.
Oh yeah. That's a Kojima. I am very excited to see what happens in the near future since that whole thing happened. And as a perfect example of sometimes, and not all of them are like that by all means, but there are some, and I have a lot of friends who work on the dev side that, they have wonderful ideas that don't get to see the light of day because they aren't as marketable, or it wasn't what this person on the publishing side saw it being, and I think it's great now that they can just go directly to the community and be like, do you want us to make this? Okay, then let's make this, and go directly to that final product. It's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it's amazing to see some games funded like within a day. So like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night from the creator of Castlevania.
Yeah.
I think that has the highest Kickstarter goal because of how fast that, like they were just adding tiers, like because they're just like, oh crap.
I guess people like this Castlevania thing. Okay.
What else can we give them?
Oh man, no, I'm really excited to see what goes forward with that. I really am.
But yeah, no. So overall, your entire experience here at Colorado Anime Fest, what is the number one thing for you to take home that you're happy about?
I would say, wow, there's a lot of different moments. The people have been phenomenal. You get a wide variety of personalities at a lot of conventions, and different fandoms and stuff, and everyone's great in their own way. But this weekend in particular, everyone's been excited, respectful, and genuine. And it's to be so consistent in those three paths has been an absolute delight. So I've had such a wonderful time, and I'm really grateful that everyone's been so awesome this whole weekend.
Oh yeah, it feels definitely not like a first year con. Like,
no,
it feels
not
like
at all.
It's been running for a very long time.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Well, thank you for spending so much time with us,
Of
man. It
course.
was great talking to
No,
you.
you too, guys. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you.
Boom.